Well, that was a first season that escalated rather quickly. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. And yeah, I know, another surprise TV thoughts. But balancing out all the comedy with Schitt's Creek. I know. I realize how late I am to the party, but seeing as how I have all this time on my hands, this is a show I've wanted to dig into for a really long time, and now's the perfect opportunity to. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Game of Thrones. Yes, I have heard all the love. I have heard all the praise for this series, and I needed to see for myself if it lived up to the hype. This is, of course, the series based off of a series of graphic fantasy novels by George R.R. Martin, of which I have not read a single one. I know. And it stars way too many people to list off. Seriously, I feel like this is one of the biggest ensembles in television history. And Game of Thrones is set in a mythical world whose inhabitants vie for control of the Iron Throne, which at the beginning of the series is held by King Robert Baratheon, played by Mark Addy. So I'm not going to beat around the bush with my feelings on this. I love Game of Thrones. First things first, let me address something real quick. Yes, I've heard all the comparisons between this and Lord of the Rings. Because let's face it, everybody's compared Lord of the Rings to Game of Thrones and Tolkien to Martin, yada yada yada. But in my opinion, Game of Thrones is a whole different animal. The look and feel of it, I totally get it. Very similar to Lord of the Rings. But I honestly think this is gonna be way darker than Lord of the Rings ever got. And trust me, Tolkien brought Lord of the Rings to those places when necessary. It goes to those dark places where it needs to, but Lord of the Rings, I feel like you can watch with your entire family. Game of Thrones, on the other hand... Don't show your kids this series. This show holds back no punches. The graphic nature of everything, the gritty survival of the fittest element. There is so much bloody carnage everywhere. And the death scenes here legitimately reminded me of Gladiator. I love Gladiator. It's one of my favorite epics of all time. And the action in Game of Thrones reminded me a lot of that. Because the physical deterioration is goddamn horrifying. Holy shit. Balls, this is TVMA. But I get it. It's not just the gore that sets Game of Thrones above the rest. It also tackles so many political themes here. I mean, my goodness, there is so much betrayal. There is so much politicking. There's so much nepotism to get to the top. Which, by the way, screw you, Joffrey. You could go to... Yeah, a lot of these subjects in normal life would be so taboo, it's not even funny. Nobody wants to talk about this kind of stuff these days. But like I said, Game of Thrones holds nothing back. And for that reason, this show is unprecedented. I don't think there will be anything like Game of Thrones ever again, and HBO struck gold with this thing. And for a show with such vast themes, it needed a vast world to go along with it. And my goodness, this world is gigantic. I mean, look at it. It's just huge. I also really love the medieval time period. I love the sword fighting. I love the knights. I love the feuding households. I love the suits of armor. It just goes on and on and on. And I can't wait to explore more of this world once I get further into this series. I can't wait to see what's north of the wall. Also, I gotta say about this world, the set design and just the aesthetic of it is just... so beautiful. Everything is just put together so incredibly well. Game of Thrones is one of the few pieces of entertainment that I can legitimately call an experience. Trust me, it's something you gotta see to believe. Now, a big part of why this world is so immersive is because of all these characters. Now, if I were to go into detail about every single character, we'd be here for like 10 hours, so I'm just gonna talk about a few of them that affected me, but there's a ton of them. First of all, Sean Bean plays Ned Stark in this series. He's already got experience in the medieval realm, being in the Lord of the Rings films. And he's stellar here. He is a loyal hand to the king. And the king is played by Mark Addy here, who is hilarious. God, he just has so much dark comedy to him. My goodness, this is the most unique king I've ever seen. I was honestly surprised and honestly a little bit ashamed of how much I was laughing at him. But the things that come out of his mouth are just so ridiculous. I can't help but laugh. But getting back to Ned, the crescendo to his arc is that he basically becomes the interim king while Robert is on his deathbed. And this seduces him to the Iron Throne. So much so that he wants it full time. He fakes the words in Robert's last will. And he's accused of treason for this, but honestly, you understand why he's doing what he's doing. And that's why it's so captivating. It may not be the most strategic move in the world, or even the most moral move in the world, but again, you understand why he's doing it. It's also to keep the crown away from Prince Joffrey. Slimy little dick. But it's not only because of that, Joffrey isn't ready. And when Robert dies, Joffrey gets the throne anyway, just because he's Robert's son. It's very medieval in concept. But here it's written like it's nepotism. And I've heard all the jokes about how insufferable this guy is, and yeah, I'm in that camp too. I wanted to slap Joffrey across the face at any given moment. He is the most snot-nosed little ass running television. But also, he's so captivating to watch because you kind of get the sense that he knows he isn't ready. It's like giving a 16-year-old brand new driver the keys to a Ferrari. You feel like he's under pressure, and he compensates for it by being just a little asshole. I mean, I just couldn't think of the word for a second because of how much he pisses me off. And that's no more apparent, his dictatorial attitude, than when he orders Ned Stark to be decapitated for treason, even after his daughter begs for his mercy, and Ned himself apologized in public. Good lord, this all sounds like it could be its own film, but this is only season 1, and that's not even a quarter of everything that's going on. And side note, part of the reason why I dug this first season so much is because it was constantly able to surprise me, and Ned's death is the perfect example. I was legitimately not expecting it, because number 1, don't read the books. And number 2, Sean Bean has first billing in the intro package. So I'm just sitting there like, holy shit, what happens next? Well, I'll tell you what happens next. His children are pissed off. And I love every single one of the Stark children. Arya, played by Maisie Williams, is excellent. Where she ends up after her father's execution, which she snuck into, yeah, she was there to watch his execution and she snuck in there unknowingly. Like, imagine like trying to sneak into a rated R flick if you're underage and you don't know what you're getting yourself into. Oh, that's kind of a morbid analogy, but like, I couldn't help but think that when I saw Arya sneak in. It's so harsh and cruel. But she goes into hiding as a boy, which is very Shakespearean, a female lead disguising herself as a boy to run for cover, and that just gives me the feeling that Arya's gonna be a badass. How about Sophie Turner as Sansa? She's someone I thought was going to be really insufferable, but she won me over, and I felt myself tearing up for her by the end of the season. It's like she essentially becomes Joffrey's wife-elect, not because she was forced into it, it's actually because she asked to marry Joffrey. And then it's like, what have you gotten yourself into? How about Kit Harington as Jon Snow? Essentially Ned's bastard seed. He is a super captivating character. I've noticed a lot of people call Jon Snow their favorite, and I don't know, his story arc just feels like one I've seen before. He's just the traditional badass outcast for right now. I'm assuming he gets more interesting as more seasons come along. But I actually found Robb Stark more interesting, played by Richard Madden. He's really cool. He's like the older brother everybody wants. He's willing to teach you stuff, but he's also willing to fall on his sword for you. This may be an unpopular opinion, but I felt more gravitated to Robb than I did to Jon. Again, please take under consideration that at the time of recording, I've only finished season 1. So before anybody starts to at me in the comments saying like, oh my god, Zack, why do you like Robb more than Jon? I'm assuming they get better. But one thing's for sure though, I am House Stark through and through. Why is that? Well, it's because of all the Lannisters. They're just a bunch of assholes. Again, I had to think of the word there. Jaime and Cersei, sick freaks. I mean, how Jaime cripples Bran Stark in the premiere episode just because Bran caught them being sick together? Like, what up people do that? I'll tell you who, the Lannisters. I hate every single one of their fucking guts. Well, I'll say though, Tyrion Lannister is the one exception. And yeah, Peter Dinklage is awesome as Tyrion. He's so snarky, so sure of himself, but he doesn't do it in a way that's unlikable. He's got a really fascinating charm to him. Now hear me out on this one. I almost see him as like the Han Solo of this ensemble. He gets all the clever one-liners, he's a womanizer, and he's a relatable, likable guy too. And I can't wait to see where Tyrion's arc goes. But there's one last performance that I've saved talking about up to this point, and yeah, you guessed it, it's Emilia Clarke as Daenerys Targaryen. She, in my eyes, is the breakout performer of this whole group. She slays it. Daenerys goes through the ringer and back in season 1. I mean, first she marries herself off to Khal Drogo, played by Jason Momoa, who comes off like a savage. It's also she can build an army to get her family name back into the Iron Throne, as when we first meet them, the Targaryens have already been exiled. I mean, she goes through hell and back to get there, and man, I mean, she watches her own brother die, for crying out loud. Which, side note, I'm not gonna spoil it for those of you that haven't seen it, but those of you hardcore Game of Thrones fans will know what I'm talking about. When I saw the way that Daenerys' brother died, which he was kind of asking for, when I saw how Jason Momoa killed him, I was like, well then, I've certainly never seen that done before. Again, Daenerys' brother was kind of asking for it. And Jason Momoa, who I'm more convinced is Roman Reigns' cool twin brother, he certainly gave him what he asked for. But Dany's gonna be a warrior, I can tell. I mean, she's not only been through a miscarriage, she's not only sacrificed her own husband, but now she's got not one, not two, but 3 baby dragons at her disposal. Oh, she's going to be a badass, isn't she? Now, the themes and the graphic nature may be too much for some viewers, and I get it. I mean, look at how long it took me to get to this. But I'll tell you what, guys. The showrunners and this cast completely won me over, because I'm hooked. I'm gonna give Game of Thrones Season 1 an A+. Obviously, I am super happy with this show. I cannot wait to continue binging it, and I can't wait to discuss this show with you guys further. Again, just like my Schitt's Creek series, I don't have a set schedule for it. It'll just depend on how many episodes I can finish and just how long it takes me to really finish a season. So keep your eye out for more of these TV thoughts as I continue to binge this. But I cannot wait to discuss it further with you guys. Do you guys watch Game of Thrones? Do you guys enjoy it? Do you not? What's your favorite episode? Who is your favorite character? What house do you belong to? Obviously, lots of questions for you guys, but I'd love to discuss all of them and then some down in the comments below. As you guys know, I am here all the time, ready and willing to discuss all entertainment and cinema. And if this sounds like stuff you want to discuss with me, if you guys are new here, please consider hitting that subscribe button down below as hard as you possibly can. Because number one, it's free. And number two, you guys will be the first ones to know anytime a new upload hits the channel. If you guys enjoyed this video also, if you guys want to see more Game of Thrones thoughts just like this, please be sure to leave a big fat thumbs up on your way out. I'd really appreciate that. And last but not least, you guys are all so awesome. Thank you all so much for your support of the channel up to this point. Thank you for clicking on the video and watching through it also. It really does mean the world. You guys are the best. And with all that being said, back talk, commence.